'Cause you're my favorite girl. You make me sing come on. 'Cause you're my favorite girl. You make me sing come on. 'Cause you're my favorite.
Hello. Welcome to a brand new episode of The Love Language.
We have been MIA for a while. We acknowledge
And
that.
I think that's fine.
We got all the sun in New York.
Yeah, man. You know, there was a heat wave here in LA.
It's going to be very hot during your graduation, I feel.
I am graduating, guys. I am graduating on May 15th. Jesselina is coming, flying down from New York for it. I'm yet to buy a dress and all of that. But yeah, I'm finally graduating.
This is your, what are you now? PhD holder?
Not at all. Still masters only.
But you
could've-
have the years
could've-
of experience you have of a PhD person.
True. I could have just done a PhD. How do you do a PhD? I could have, I did my law masters got done in 2020 and we are in 26. So
6 years made people finish a
6 years
PhD.
back I could have finished my PhD.
Yeah. You could have been Dr. Anathemera right now.
But in India, they don't give you doctorship now on PhD. I don't know how
So
it
you'd have
works.
done it here.
Here, they call you doctor if you finish your PhD.
I think so.
Wow. I could have just done a PhD. Then what would have I done with that PhD? What happens then? Then you teach.
No, not necessarily. They do consider you in some sectors. They do consider you more of an expert, you know, and they give you like higher job positions and things like that.
Okay.
Dr.
Okay.
Mehra.
No, let's mano that this is my PhD only. But I'm very proud. I'm very proud of this master's. I feel that it has been unlike any of my higher educational experience. And I feel that it has really taught me a lot about my capabilities, something that I just couldn't learn back in DU and in India. So I'm really happy. Even though I did it later in life, I'm happy that I did it because I would have always lived with that what if had I
Of
not.
course. And this is what I tell people. So many people come to me and they're like, in their mid
Yeah, guys, Jesso has a Calendly, by the way. So you guys can reach out to her on LinkedIn, and if you want like a one-on-one, and you can send her a message, and then she will send you a Calendly. And a lot of times that's friends also. If you're not able to find a slot with her, and there are scheduling differences, then she will send you a Calendly if you're a friend also. So that's how she operates.
I have done it to one friend. That too,
I
my
think
friend today rescheduled. Just
kudos
fine.
to that friend for taking your tantrums.
She recommended it. I'm not a crazy person.
I would have been like, fuck off.
But I think we should start putting this on our calendars, Calendly.
The podcast scheduling.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, so a lot of people come to me, coming back to your point, and they're just like in their mid-20s, late-20s, and they're like, should I do a law degree? Should I do this degree, that degree? It's like 2 years, 3 years. And I'm like, you're 30 right now. In 3 years, you're going to be 33. You can be 33 with a law degree or without a law degree. So pick
Yeah.
which one you want, right?
Yeah.
In 20 years, no one's going to look back at when you did this degree and how you got there. They'll just be like, yeah, you have a degree, which is very important.
But Jesso, as a single woman, it's very easy for you to say that. I'm just saying, okay, like it's very easy when you are the one who's taking the shots of your life, of your life. The decision depends on you, your independence, your convenience, your timeline. That's all. Not a lot of people are granted that privilege, and specifically if they are in their late 20s and very long committed relationships or in early marriage, which is the case in a lot of in a lot of people and women who are in their late 20s, right? Like either they are in very long term relationships, or they are um married, and that like steers us back actually to the topic that we are going to be discussing today. We started off thinking that we'll talk about something else, but then we realized that we haven't ever spoken about something that has been deeply personal to the both of us, which is that both of us in our individual capacities have navigated different types of long distance relationships. So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about.
Long distance relationships with our partners. I think a lot of people really fear it. Yeah. Like I've spoken to some people who are like, absolutely no. Like, you could be thinking
Yeah.
about getting married to a person tomorrow, but if by chance there's a long distance relationship in the future, they're just like, it's a hard no. And that is valid too. But I think what we want to explore is, where do the fears stem from?
Yeah.
And are these like individualistic? Like, are those fears generalized? That's something we can come to terms with, or are they really personal to a relationship?
And is LDR really a problem or something else?
Mm, mm. Good question. Hot question. No, I want to go back to what you were saying about the educational decisions and having to navigate it slightly differently when you are in a long term, when you are married. But I want to put like a pin there, and I want to put a caveat to be like, a lot of times the burden to navigate decisions when it comes to education and a woman's education and work in a partnership, in a heterosexual partnership, comes on the woman. Oftentimes you see men taking very individualistic decisions and understanding that the world is going to, conform to them and their plans, their ideas of what they want. So I think, I'm not denying what you're saying. I 100% think, especially when my friends are getting married and I tell them, like, it's very unlikely when women do their masters after their marriage, or they do move for a job after their marriage. And I've had this conversation with multiple friends, and I think it is important to acknowledge that you need to have these conversations before, if you are someone who's looking to do something, like if you want to go to this particular university, and that will also come with being a long distance relationship. And I
Yeah.
think that is the other caveat that I want to put in. And I have this conversation with women who are, and we've also had this conversation, women who are equally sort of looking, prioritizing their jobs or their education. It is inevitable that there will be a moment when there is a long distance relationship sort of created, right? You either pick a long distance relationship with your partner and making your decision, or you decide to sort of conform. Either way, conform your decision to
Yeah.
take a third route where you both have done certain compromises, or one person has done that compromise. But I think what I want to say is that, don't be shy from pursuing your dreams just because there's going to be a long distance relationship. I think a long distance relationship should sort of strengthen that bond in that moment, where it should be able to sustain that relationship.
You're so right. You're so right. And mind you, guys, we are not here to give any lecture, but we are here to we are speaking from our own experiences. I feel both Jesselina and I have navigated long distance relationships that have like I
In multiple relationships across
in
multiple ages.
yeah. So I have had a couple of long distance relationships, and the final long distance relationship that I had with my partner now, with my husband now, stretched for 7 years, and then we finally got married, and we did multiple like cities, states. Then we went and like did like COVID, and where he was in his hometown, I was in my hometown, and then went on and did like America and India as well. But I just feel that for long distance to work, and what Jesselina is saying, that we shouldn't be apprehensive of long distance, because that sort of strength relationship teaches you to live with each other's individuality showcased in full glory, right?
Mm.
When you are in a long distance relationship, you are sort of adjusting to a person's highly individualistic relationship where you're
Mm,
not playing the central role, which you could have been had you been, um in like when you guys are in the same
mm,
city or in the same time zone, etc. And a lot of people like have this notion that, that, oh, if we are together, I've seen so many of my friends and everything, like if we are together things would be okay, and it's not working out, this long distance. I mean, a lot of times, obviously, distance can be challenging. I have had so many challenges when we were in a distant relationship. Communication styles are different. But there has to be a fundamental, like, you cannot blame long distance on why your relationship is not working out. You
mm,
have to dig in deeper and understand that what are the fundamental challenges because of which the long distance is not working out. And if you
mhm,
guys get together in the same time,
mhm.
you need to tackle those challenges that would exist whether you are together or not, you know?
I will say one thing though, and something this is what I've realized with my past experiences with partners is that in when you are together, it becomes easier to it might be sometimes easier to resolve a fight because you just look at someone and you just feel really like you're not ignoring a phone call, right? You're just like in front of someone and you feel really like that, yeah, let's just like fix this situation. And then, but that might not be overall the healthiest way to approach it as well. You're just forgetting the situation in the moment because you're like someone is in front of you, right? But
Mhm.
I do get that, in relationships where you're present and in person, it becomes easier maybe in that moment to resolve a situation. I feel long distance relationships really test you in terms of how you're taking a step back when you're not there physically to really resolve something. Number one. Number two, this idea that long distance relationships, what are some of people's fears in long distance relationship? Let's maybe start to unpack that. In my head, what I think about one is like infidelity, cheating. I think that is people's like biggest thing. Like you don't know where the person
100%.
is, right? But then again, then I think to myself, but a person, you're not with a person 24/7. They could be cheating. You're living together. They could be cheating outside. So like, what does that guarantee?
My to Let's go one by one, right? Let's go
Yeah.
with this cheating fear, okay?
Uh-huh.
I to have now through my experiences and whatever, right? And I've had some crazy experiences regarding infidelity, cheating, a partner lying, and all that. Like, I think I've done a PhD in that.
Uh-huh.
But so coming back to that, I just feel that I have evolved in my, like, in the way I approach an an unfaithful
Infidel.
partner or an infidel or an unfaithful
Yeah.
partner, because I feel no matter what I do, like I can be checking his phone day in and day out, I can be sitting on his lap the whole day, I can, like, be like, I will travel with you everywhere, I'll be, if he has to cheat
Uh,
or if they have to cheat, they will find a way to do it.
exactly.
So, I mean, it is like you have to find a relationship where you can be and reach a point in your relationship where you can trust that partner. Obviously, you have your insecurities here and there, but fundamentally, you should be able to trust your partner and have that faith and have your reasons. Otherwise, if you're constantly living in a state where you have to constantly doubt, no matter where you are, what you're doing, like it is inevitable that this
And
can happen.
I think the other side of this is even when people are together, that doesn't mean a person can be less controlling. There are relationships even when you're together, when you don't have a long distance relationship, you're so fearful of the cheating situation, you're controlling, right? And
I
I
to feel
think
that's worse because it's like, acha chalo, at least if someone is there and you have, like, let's say, tailored your entire life around that person, so at least your friends and family and all know ki acha theek hai, you know what, X will always be accompanying this
yeah.
person, So theek hai, then you. But the worst is that that person is not even existing, but through phone calls and through FaceTime and texting and all of that, that person is constantly, kaha ja rahe ho? Where you going? What time will you be back? Text me here. Share your Google location with me.
The sharing locations I really don't understand.
Oh my god, people are absolutely insane, man. I had an ex who did this with me to keep a tab on everything. Everything.
I like sharing location I share with my friends out of like worry that something might happen, but I don't know, I'm not comfortable sharing location with partners. Yeah, like my partner and I, we've had this discussion. I don't know, like I don't know, like
So,
I'm Maybe I
now
come from
Sahil
trauma
has my
also.
location. Now Sahil has my location, but it is like I don't know how to explain it. It's like the way you have my location. You
But it
understand?
should come more naturally. It shouldn't be like, hey, share your location. I
Yeah,
want to know what's happening,
obviously. Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
obviously. But it has to do more with like he's my only family here. Like
Yeah.
like sometimes I can get lost and things like he wants to keep a tab on that. Like it
Nahi,
has
but if you're in a long distance relationship, even if you're sharing a location with someone who's in India, let's say right now, what is the person in India going to do?
I don't know. But a lot of it has to do with your intention also. Now, like I mean,
Yeah.
why are you sharing that location? Like, acha. And another thing is sharing location to chalo next level. Dude, it used to happen to me. Oh my god, I'm getting like PTSD. Sharing Facebook, Instagram, all those passwords.
Oh, bro, I used to do that in my first young term relationship. I don't know why I normalized it when I was like 15, 16. Who told us that's okay?
I
Why didn't
don't know.
anyone
It
tell?
was like a thing. It was like a
Yeah,
teenage thing, to be able to like share your password. Like everyone's boyfriends knew their passwords. What the fuck?
very insane.
I'm just thinking now at this stage, if I give Sahil all my passwords, like, it'll be so creepy, yeah. Like, I mean, there's so many
I'll stop
conversations you
texting.
have
There's such intimate conversations you and I have. Yeah, what are you saying?
with your friends and with your like, with your parents or with things like that. You just don't want your partner to know. But it happens. I've seen it in long distance relationship. Partners have all their passwords, have all the locations, have all the access, and they think that by exerting that kind of control, they are keeping a check on their partner.
But
But
okay, I'll tell you something. This is one side of it, okay? But I'm not saying that there are no feelings. Like you and I also have navigated these challenges. And I think when it comes to being a slightly more protective, slight tinges of jealousy, I think I have that more in relationships than you have. I think you're more of a chiller, a slightly more chill person. So I want to also acknowledge that I think there are moments in long distance relationships where it does test you, right? Like you don't know, like for example, like I want to give people the benefit of doubt of people who do this also, because I don't necessarily think it comes from a place like,
that's what, yeah, 100% I agree with you. I'm not saying what you are doing is, I mean, I'm judging you or whatever. That's not
Mm.
what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is that you are thinking that all your insecurities and jealousies and whatever is going to get fixed by having this
having
control over your
exactly
partner. But
exactly
no, that is not going to fix it.
yeah
Like, you
yeah
have to like there has to be a level of surrender and see if your relationship is sustaining that challenge and that you like sort of taking a backseat, and that's when you know.
yeah. And I think it comes from this place of like people also constantly doing this introspection to understand that, despite controlling everything, things can go wrong. So I think there's an amount of like control factor that people have when it comes to like life and relationships. And I think this is something that my friend and I were talking about. She also works here in New York, and she's like, the challenge that I have in relationships is that some people are so type A in their work and they know exactly what to do. I do this, I do that, I know this will happen to me. In relationships, it's two people doing that work. It's not just one person, right? So you could be
Group
controlling this.
project.
Yeah, it's a group project. You could be controlling this person's live location. You could be controlling what they're doing, what they're eating, who they're talking to. But there could be a moment where, they have a conversation with someone and they don't want to tell you. So I think it's that even when I have had moments where I'm like, reacting in a way that I don't want to, I'm like, wait, but I don't want to make this a situation where you don't have that ease to come to me and talk to me if something has
Yeah.
happened. It doesn't necessarily have to be like on a scale of cheating, but even building blocks to that, right? Like I want you to be able to come. And I have also checked myself in moments where I'm like, wait, I don't want this to be an environment where you can't even come talk to me because you're scared of what's going to happen. So I think that is the flip side, the other side of, why people do certain things. And I think this is a conversation that you constantly need to have with your own self also, in addition to what you're saying.
True. Okay, so one of the largest looming fears is cheating.
Yeah.
What is the other what is the other challenge? The other challenge I feel that people face, like at least I personally faced with Sahil a lot, was our differing communication styles.
Hmm.
In the sense that I wanted, more assurances. I
Hmm.
wanted, like, more gestures and things
Hmm.
like that. While Sahil was like, um, not very communicative when it came to, like, in long distance relationships. Like, he would call, he would talk, but he would not give me as much as I needed to probably sustain or fuel
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
relationship.
Hmm.
So that also is, I feel, one challenge, like differing communication styles and navigating that.
Yeah, communication styles, and also when you haven't understood like effective communication styles, you start like I think anticipating the other person's lack of it as a signal. I think that becomes the challenge. You're like, why
I
is it
didn't
like,
understand.
let's say your communication style is like gesture and like gift giving, or like, making plans even when you guys are really far away, and he's not doing that. And you're
Yeah.
just like, well, like, why is he not doing that? Is it because that's his communication style, or is he like not interested, and is he like,
Ah.
not prioritizing? I think that's the challenge. Less of the communication style, but what it signifies in our minds when we're not getting that clarity.
True. So tell me something in all of this. What is a, like, like ultimately when I was in a long distance relationship, I'm not saying it was the best time of my life and oh, everything was great and all, but I really look back at those memories very fondly and with a lot of gratitude that I had a chance to do something like that, because I take it like sort of as a boot camp for my relationship. Like I feel I feel I feel that it filled my relationship with a lot of resilience, understanding, and this thing where we are able to, both Sahil and I are able to retain our individual personalities
Hmm.
despite being together. And it's not only me, there is another couple that we hang out with a lot who have done a lot of like long distance, and I feel that in them also, like they have their individual personalities even when they are together. And I feel that makes it very like easy. You're not talking to a couple all the time, you're talking to like two individuals who are coming and
Hmm.
together living. But that does not mean that I did not crave for it to ultimately end and
Yeah.
for us
Yeah.
to begin our life together. So I mean, would you take long distance like as something that should eventually end, or is it something that it's okay, like should partners be okay with it like going on indefinitely also?
That's very interesting you asked me, because my immediate thing to look at is my parents' relationship,
Exactly. Yeah, I was
right?
hoping to bring that up. Yeah.
And my dad was stationed. He's in Nepal, so he was in the military, now retired. Of course, in India, in many countries, even in Nepal, the idea is for the partner and the children to move around with the spouse who is in the military, and then like move around and stay
Acha.
in like
Okay.
quarters and stuff, so that you're not away from family. But that also means that the partner, the homemaker, or the partner who's not in the military has to move around a lot. Their job becomes really difficult. The children have to constantly move schools, things like that. So
Huh.
I think it was a very active decision, maybe because of the privileges of having a house in Kathmandu, having my grandparents there to support my mom and all that, that it was never a consideration for us to move around. But that came with this very active choice that my parents were essentially in a long distance since they got married, till like maybe like 6 7 years ago, when my dad retired basically. And then before that, he was stationed in Kathmandu for like 2 3 years when I was maybe like 19 20. That was the only time he was living in our house, and then his work was close by in Kathmandu, right? But other than that, they've been in a long distance their entire life, and now they're together and figuring it out. But it was also a very understood reality of what it means to marry someone who has a certain job. So I guess it comes with like for example, I also know people whose parents, one of their dads, let's say, does business, has to travel all the time, but mom is staying put and doing her work in a particular city. The dad has to travel. What to do? And when do you give that up? And when do you want to give that up? I don't know.
No, that's true. That's very true. So for in my case, for example, like after getting married, I was very clear that I want to spend some time with Sahil. Like, I want to be in the same city. I want to be together with him because we had done, like I said, we had done like and a half. Like, ever since our relationship started, it was long distance relationship. We never got time more than a few months here and there to, like, stay in the same city and actually experience things together. So, but if someone asks me today, and I know, like, you and I have had conversations where I could have applied to like colleges in the East Coast. There were a lot of courses that like sort of were more suitable for me, not more or less, but like there were options that I could have looked at, but I only applied in California, and because at that time I wanted to make an active choice. Like, I don't think Sahil like ever had a say. Like, he never said anything about it. I made an active choice to, like, stick to LA, stick to California, and build my, like, my initial years of my marriage in the same place. But having said that, I have said this multiple times, and I am extremely open to resuming long distance again in our marriage if I'm getting some opportunities in my career that I know are like irresistible. And I just feel that that kind of an understanding, and that kind of, like, I mean, that kind of flexibility is something that still exists between the both of us, that it's okay, we can manage.
Would you guys have you guys had a conversation of what that would look like if you were to have children? Would that
No, no.
like That's interesting because my parents did long distance with children. But then I also saw the opposite of that, which was both my granddads being in the foreign service, moving around, and their wives taking a major step back in career choices, their children moving around with them. And I've sort of seen both sides of that, right? And both come with its advantages and disadvantages.
The only challenge with me being like, what if my career takes me, then we'll split, and for some time or whatever till we figure something out, is kids. But we haven't discussed kids yet. We haven't had any conversations around that. But if we do have kids, and of course, for at least the first 5 years or whatever, like, till they join school or something like that, I don't think we will be tied down. So either Sahil will have to move with me if my job is something that, that I really want to do, or I have to be around where his job is. But I'm talking like a later stage or whatever, like, I don't know. We're yet to have these conversations, but I think I would be open to, like, what I'm trying to say from this is not that whether I'm going to move or not, but what I'm trying to say is that I'm not afraid of living away from my partner. Like,
Mm.
that is not something that causes me a sense of anxiety or something that, oh, you know what, I can't do it.
I wonder if that, and I think that's very true for me also. I've navigated like multiple long distance relationship, and for me, the long distance has never been the problem. I remember when my partner was moving out of New York at that time,
yeah,
and someone had asked me, "Oh, like, what does this mean for the relationship?" And I was like, bro, like, we have so many other like different challenges. This is the least of it, like this should
yeah.
be able to sustain itself. Considering you're moving for like work, you're not moving for funsies. Oh, I'm like, I want to move there. We can see what the relation. No, like if it's work and if it's something that you have to do, like how can I ask them to not pursue something when I am actively pursuing and not wanting to compromise at this particular stage? And I get it. Once you get married, and once you have kids, conversations evolve. But all I'm saying is maybe both of us have been so open to this idea for long distance because when we started dating in school, when you're in a boarding school, it is, you start off in a long distance relationship, right?
Yeah.
So it became a norm. It wasn't the norm for us to be meeting boyfriends every day. We were in an all girls school, a boarding school. Everyone's relationship, all 900 girls in the school ka relationship, if you were in a relationship, started from a point of long distance. Right. So maybe that is a factor that we don't really consider how much of that weighs into our decisions as well.
Tell me something. Do you think do you think that people who cannot do long distance relationships, or people who struggle with long distance relationships, do you think that's presumptuous, or it's a sweeping generalization. Like, I just want to know your opinion
Mm.
that people who cannot do, like couples who cannot do long distance relationship, like they are fundamentally weak in their like do you think that, like, do you think that's a wrong perspective, or what is your thought, like what in your experience have been the reasons why people have not been able to do long distance relation, and how have you perceived it?
No, I don't think it is a sweeping. I don't think it. First, I do think it's a sweeping generalization. I don't think people are weak. Essentially, I think different people have different needs, right? Like I know that especially people like us who are traveling here to the States who don't have family here, it's very difficult to create a community. It's very difficult to have that sort of familiar connection. And when you do have a partner, you do want to be with them because your community grows through your partner. We've talked about this before. In individualistic societies, so much of who your partner is and how you live life, like, increases your life in that sense. Versus back home, when you have so many different communities, you have so many different things. I was, in fact, it was very interesting. Yesterday, I was reading about how marriage is not a Western concept. It really isn't. But this individualistic, male centered idea of how women should be in a marriage does stem from Western values. Because in our communities, we are very open to this idea that even if my husband is working outside, I have my community here, whether it's in laws, it's people who live around the village. The literal village idea comes from more traditional, more Eastern values, as we would like to call it, right? But in the West, it is not a collective society, it is an individualistic society. But more and more of this idea that you and your husband become a unit and no one else is a unit around you is not something that we are familiar with as women from South Asia or from Eastern communities. So I do understand that, it's difficult to navigate a space where you and your partner are expected to be a unit, but also the system around you doesn't really want you to be a unit, or there isn't space for you to be a unit. But if you don't want to be a unit, there's also not this idea that you can explore things around that. So this urbanization idea of how South Asian communities are also evolving slightly more Western in our outlook, I think that is there. But
Mm.
overall, I don't think it's weakness in a person. I think people have different needs of how they've seen relationships over the years, what they think is appropriate, what they think is not appropriate. I think it's that.
Yeah, like so for me, I did a little bit of long distance, of course, in school, and then that relationship sort of moved to us moving into the same city, and it was like it was the most symbiotic, or whatever you want to call it. Like, we were always with each other. I dated that guy for like whatever 5 6 years, and he was just always with me. Like, wherever I went, whatever I did, he knew everything about me. My identity was so attached to him. That I think, coming to your point, that a lot of times it also has to do with our experiences, right? That I experienced that side where, like, I had a partner all the time, like, with me, and our identities were so intertwined and everything. And that led me and I'm talking like when I was like in my early 20s, right? In my late teens and early 20s was when I was in that relationship. The most, I feel, malleable
Mm,
phase of your life. And at that time, in retrospect, there were so many opportunities, prof- professionally, in the sense, like in college, and even recreationally or socially, that I let go of. And
mm,
I let go of because I was prioritizing this relationship, right?
mm,
And those have been the experiences that have shaped my early 20s,
mm,
right? Like, I saw so many of different experiences that my friends have grown up having, that I
mhm,
didn't have, because I was stuck being in that relationship. I was stuck being a girlfriend. I was stuck being someone's romantic interest, and in the same city. That I feel that once I got out of that relationship, which took so
mhm,
much effort to get out of that relationship, I think I just very naturally and instinctively developed a very strong sense of wanting space in a
mm,
relationship. Like that became my no, and I never realized it. It came into play as I navigated my relationship with Sahil, that I realized that when I look back, I feel the reason why Sahil and I worked and worked so well despite all the challenges was because both of us needed and craved and had this central requirement of wanting space, and that was basically what we wanted in our relationship. Both
Yeah.
of us wanted space, both of us wanted time to like do our own thing, meet our own people, and then come back to each other.
For me, I think I'm realizing something right now. So when I moved to Delhi, so when at that time, my partner, my boyfriend at that time, he was graduating school, and we had sort of decided that Delhi would be a good option. We had had this discussion of he wanted to pursue university, and I looked at a few law schools, and I was like, you know what, Delhi is seeming like a collective decision.
Yeah, yeah,
So he went there 1 year before, and then you were also going there. So I had multiple reasons, but of course, a big reason for me was we had both decided that we want to go to Delhi, pursue this relationship, and we'd been in a long distance for 4 years, from ninth grade to 12th grade,
yeah, yeah,
and we were both like, okay, Delhi seems like a good choice. The universities for both of us are great there. But I remember this narrative that got created, and I think a lot of that push was like, oh, Jesselina has moved for this guy. Like, what is she doing with her life? And I don't know why it struck me so much. I remember having this conversation. I'll tell you after this call who that was. A few of our classmates apparently had this discussion about like what has Jesselina done with her life. Like, like she's moved to Delhi for this guy, even though my university was great. It's a top-notch
yeah,
university.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
like it's a law school, it's a premier law school of India and things like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So that conversation happened very early on, and I don't know why it struck a chord with me. And I'm like, I need to make sure my individual identity is very strong. I do not want to come off as someone who is just like pursuing something behind a guy, because I genuinely did want to do law. Like that clarity came to me. And I think I mentioned this when I was in the 11th, 12th grade, that clarity came to me. My teacher really helped me understand what I wanted to pursue. And I looked at my choices. I got into all the different schools to Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi. And I was like, you know what? Delhi is seeming like the right choice for me for multiple reasons. And of course, one of them is my partner. And I remember going to Delhi, and I'm like, one of the good things is that, I have to live in the hostel. My partner's living outside. I have to live in the hostel. So this gives me like 5 days. I'm individually just pursuing aggressively what I want, making my relationships at college. He has nothing to do with this world, and this world has nothing to do with, my life outside. So I started living a very dual life where I wanted to have a very strong individuality. And I didn't know how that would turn out in the future, but I think that gave me the courage to actually also, when the relationship got toxic, to really step out and be like, I still have my own self identity. And
yeah,
I didn't realize it until now when I'm saying this, but I think sometimes you pursue things in a way, and that relationship was a hybrid, long distance. You're still in Delhi, but you're not meeting every day because you're living in college. So I think one of the things that I do take away, whether you're in a relationship, and especially in long distance relationship, is to use that advantage and space of being able to strengthen your individual identity.
And I just feel that whether in a long distance relationship or not, like, I just feel it's very, very important. I just feel long distance makes it like, non negotiable for you to be doing that, because what else will you do, right? Like, you have to
Mm.
have your own life, you have to have your own individuality. But even if when people are not in a long distance relationship, I just feel it's just very, very important for you to have your identity consolidated, because
Mm.
it's so easy to get consumed in someone else's world. And I mean, you'll realize it just so if you ever choose to get married, marriage takes that game into another level, like
Mhm.
it does. The way our
Mhm.
society is constructed, the way things are, it's so easy to lose yourself in a marriage.
Mhm.
And I know I'll sound a little bit extreme, but even the fact that, I just feel that whole notion of even changing your surname, I thought about it. It took me a really long time to like think about it again and again and like, weigh what it means for me, what it means for who I am, and things like that. And I was like, what is the difference between you changing your name overnight to
But
something?
I want to give the viewers maybe a different angle of how you reach there. because you and I have had very different discussions. I want to let viewers, listeners, let them know that you are on a different path of understanding what it means to change your surname, and you've evolved. Your relationship around that has evolved. So maybe if you can like give a history of our conversations in the past and how you
I don't
came to
remember
that.
how it started, but I know right now, so you can tell me how it started. I
Yeah.
don't have recollection. But recently what happened was because I started thinking about how I view my partner and his world, right? And marriage is something, marriage by the word only means coming together and like, the mixing of it, right?
Yeah.
So of course, by default, because I'm married to him, his life, his world, his identity, his parents, where he comes from is mine now. Like if tomorrow someone says, "Oh, we are from Muradabad," I will not be like, "Oh, that's where my husband is from." I will not say that. Like I've reached that evolution. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's our home also." You know, but similarly, I would want Sahil, like, and this comes to him also naturally, that when someone mentions Banaras, like
Mm.
he also identifies with Banaras as some place like that he belongs to, like, like because I belong to that place. Like it
That's very
becomes a little
interesting.
bit, yeah, because it's like your identities are coming together. But what happens as a woman is that I actually, it just struck me one day that what if tomorrow someone tells me that, oh, you know what, your birthday is not 31st December 1994. Your birthday now is 31st March, you know, and you have to live with that. You have to live with that. Or that your name is not Anahita Mehra now. Your name is Aradhna Mehra. I'm just like telling you. How would I feel? Like, so how is it that that your first name is something that if it changes your identity, but your last name, if it's changing, it's not changing. For 30 years of my life, I was known as Anahita Mehra. All my work, everything around me was by that, and that also is my father's name by the end of it. So I mean, that's also something that that it's not that it's coming from, but that has become my identity. People identify me as Anahita Mehra, and when we moved here, when I got married, my college, everything was done, my passport, everything was done around that name. So now, even in college and in America, where I started everything fresh, I started with this name, right? So I was like, I don't think I need to prove my loyalty to someone or whatever by changing my surname. I know that, he is mine and I am his, but I don't want to, like, and I came to that decision. I don't know how I started, but what I'm trying to tell you is that it's very difficult. Like all these things that are like these structures that are imposed on you, it's very easy for you to lose yourself and get consumed into another person's identity very, very quickly, which is why I feel that it is very important that you have an understanding of your own self so that you do not lose yourself.
I think my thing is, so my approach to my constructive criticism of marriage as an institution and this idea of like taking on surnames has been, it's very long standing with me, and I've had very active conversations with my partners about this. I think for you, from what I recall in the past, you've always sort of romanticized this idea that, all of us, we can have the same sort of surname. It's like a
Yeah.
identity, and, it's a family. It's this idea of what we've seen growing up. For me, I think, like you said, it's also significant of what, how marriage has evolved and what it used to be. It used to be, women were seen as property of husband of fathers, and then when given to husbands, their title basically changed, and
Mm.
it was like a property of giving of property, right? And of course, women's rights have evolved over the years, and we're not cattle like property anymore to be given and taken. And of course, there are customs that people stray away from. Like a lot of women in Nepal are not doing kanyadan. Hindu women are not doing kanyadan because it's like a dan of a kanya, of a virgin. And and this was a conversation I had with my grandmom very actively before she passed. And I think these ideas, of course, for me, it's more around, of course, what you're saying about, yes, personal identity, but also slightly pushing back on, patriarchal institutions, and understanding that there are times when we give in. like I've had this conversation with you. Marriage as an institution is very patriarchal in our society, but then again, it comes with so many benefits: tax benefits, healthcare benefits, child citizenship benefits. These are things that if you choose not to do it without that institution, it becomes very challenging for you as a woman in the particular society as well. So people do give and take. So I guess for me, it's also about pushing back where I can. So I think for me, it's one of that. And second, like you said, it's also retaining my identity. Like I've built so much over 30 years, like, like now if you Google Jesselina Rana, all of it comes, all of my achievements,
Exactly.
everything
Yeah.
comes. But tomorrow, if I change my name to something else, even if I hyphenate it, if I change it to someone else, they're like, this is another person. So then what happens?
Yeah, so that's the kind of like a sort of an epiphany. Like for me, though, it actually was as simple as that. That what if tomorrow someone tells me that you're not born in December and you're born in like September? Like, how would I perceive it? Like, so it actually like was like the same thing. And you know I don't have to prove to someone that I belong to this family or I have married someone. Like, it's very clear, like I can retain my identity and still be in a marriage, and in a very fulfilling, happy, loving marriage. And I just realized that I'm not being true to myself by like pushing another surname onto my name, and it didn't feel authentic.
So coming back to maybe last point around long distance relationships. So we talked about one is the scare of being cheated on or someone cheating. The second is communication styles and not being sort of reassured in what you want at that moment, and that communication going haywire, and that affecting the relationship dynamic. What is the third thing that you think is challenging in a long distance relationship?
Third challenge we discussed, which is like that I feel the fear of not being able to retain your or build your own
Okay,
identity without
identities.
having
Yeah.
your partner around. I feel that's also a challenge that a lot of people struggle with, because they feel कि अच्छा अब हम
Yeah.
relationship में अब तुम और मैं एक ही है. So
Yeah.
some people struggle with having their own identity, their own friends, their own hobbies. Living with their own self is also a challenge that a lot of times comes
And
through.
and the fourth thing is, I think, not having regular whatever physical relationship you have with your
Yeah,
partner, that's
yeah.
sort of taking a toll on your
Yeah,
relationship.
you're right. That was a big challenge for me in a long.
And not everyone is comfortable with like virtual exploration
Yeah,
and
that was a big challenge for me. Yeah, you're right. No, that is a challenge that not many people speak about. And thank you
yeah.
for bringing it up. I didn't even strike me to like bring it up, but I feel that is a very big challenge. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, having a physical relationship with your partner.
Yes.
Even this need to like be hugged, or this
Yeah.
need to like for someone to like just
Physical intimacy in the smallest way to the most, like, whatever you want it to be.
whatever you want to be. And like I remember when I was with Sahil, like every time I would get ready or something and I would feel that I'm looking really nice or something, the fact that he was not around to like appreciate, like it would really get to me, like I
Yeah.
would, oh my God, like he's not here. And again, then feeling the
And
need
then
to,
and exactly, and that all of these can also add together in one format. You
yeah.
can be you can be questioning someone if they're faithful, and that could actually come from you having bad communication style, and that could also come from you not having a good physical relationship and not having your individual, like all of it could
Yeah.
also be interrelated.
And the thing with me is that I am an aggressively physical person. You know this. Like,
Okay.
why? Like with you also. Like I
Guys, we just want to let you know that Anayata and I, we are very open to like cuddling and sleeping. Like it's very like we are very comfortable in our sexuality and our friendship.
Yeah, yeah. So like I need to kiss and I need to hug and I need to like that's how I am with like with my family also. So for
Mm.
me to not be able to do that with Sahil, and and obviously like your sex life takes a backseat. Like that is not even something that you can do or you can think about.
Yeah.
And different communication styles. So I remember like there was a time for 1.5 years, 1 year, 2 months we didn't meet. Okay. And we are doing this India America. Okay, so it's like
Like time difference also.
time difference. So we are never sleeping at the same time. We are never waking up at the same time. His night is my morning. And 1.5 hour years we have gone without uh any kind of like sexual touch or any kind of like human touch with each other and all. And the thing with Sahil is that he's not he's not flirtatious when it comes to like texting and all. You understand? So you can't imagine Sahil to be like that. Nah, like
Like a
okay,
refined older man.
yeah, like he'll be like very loving and he'll be like, very, very caring and doting and all that. But that and I was just like, have we lost our spark? Because it was like six
Mm.
years into the
Dating.
relationship. And you're like, yeah, this can happen, right? Like you can reach like a lull. And I remember that. And oh, on top of that, I was gaining weight. Another parallel tragedy of
Mhm.
my life. Okay. So one is that we have no physical touch. We are not flirting. We are like it's just talking every day and that's it.
Right.
FaceTiming, talking and just talking
Right.
about like our day and all, and that's how it would go on. And on the other side, I'm not feeling comfortable with my physicality
Right.
also. Okay. I cannot tell you that was such a harrowing thing. I felt that we would break up. Like I genuinely was convinced that we would break up over this.
No, no, I understand what you mean. I've experienced something similar that you're not together, and then when you're not together, and that other person might not be giving you the compliments because you're not together. One person is craving, either person is craving a slightly
Yeah.
more reassurance, compliments, because in their head they're also like looking a certain way that they don't want
Dealing
to,
with
and
their insecurities
and
and
and that physical connection is not there to reassure the other person that
yeah,
everything is okay, right?
yeah,
And then you go into this like phase of like questioning the relationship, questioning yourself, questioning each other, communication styles come into play, all of that. So I think it is challenging. I think what I at least want to say to our listeners is that those of you in long distance relationship, it's not easy. And the experiences that you're going through most of the times might be similar to what many of us in long distance continue to navigate. Not like you and I have perfected this, DK. Like I think we're still like dealing with our own challenges when it comes to all of this. And I think one of the things that I constantly go back to, and either tell me what you think, is I'm able to give so much grace and give so much trust in my friendship long distance, even though in different capacities, I am going through similar situations, right? Sometimes you and I we've not spent time for 6 months. We are seeing each other spend time with more friends. We are seeing each other take more trips with other people. We're not getting that physical time. Physical, I don't mean like sexual physical. I mean like, we don't have the time to bond and all,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? And sometimes our communication styles and all, but I just keep coming back to this. I'm like, I keep giving this woman so much benefit of doubt and so much trust that it's coming from a place of not me lacking, but it's coming from a place of just like not being able to like meet and not being able to see each other. It's not coming from a place of like with the intention for it to end. And I think
Yeah.
that's the problem, because you expect a relationship to end, you don't expect a friendship to end. Mic drop.
Mic drop moment हो गया होगा ना ये तो. But that's true. That's really true. You're so right. You're so right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, you will never have this insecurity that your friendship with someone will end, like, unless like you are having some fundamental differences. But in a relationship, like, it's so fragile. It's like built on such
like
fragile
it's
emotion.
like a time, it's like a ticking time bomb in our heads,
हाँ,
a relationship.
कभी breakup हो सकता है, कभी भी हो सकता है, हाँ. Like, if this is okay, or we can break up. Like, there's always this
Yeah.
thing. You're so right. So, just to conclude this amazing podcast, I feel we should do podcast more on like these niche topics, like we don't do like this is a very niche ka bhi niche, like relationship going into long distance. Like I feel we should. But anyway, coming to this, I'll also answer this, but I want to hear your thing first. Given all the challenges, a lot of people, who are like, who do not want to strain themselves a lot, who like to have life, who do not want to create like challenges for themselves unnecessarily, right? Might argue and be like, if I have an option of living with my partner, if I have an option of like, being in the same city and doing my relationship smoothly, why would I intentionally put it through this challenge or whatever the
Hmm,
so-called boot camp
hmm,
of like long distance? Why do I have to do it if
hmm,
it's
hmm.
working out, right? So do you think that every relationship, like, what is your thinking? Like, do you think that every relationship should, before it converts into a long-term commitment like a marriage and all, should put themselves through like the challenge of a long distance to see how it evolves? Or do you think ki nahi, if they do not need to, then it's fine? Like, why do you have to put yourself through this strain?
My thing is, I want to take one step back and thank you for that question. I think it's a very important question. My thing is, I don't question it like that. I don't because
Yeah,
I think
you have to stop behaving like you are in some UN ka, like
Arey
you're.
yaar,
Thank
listen.
you. Thank you, moderator, for this question. Yes, I would like to now reply.
No, but I'm just saying, my thing is because, there, of course, I think the ideal situation is you're not in a long distance, you're together. But in that ideal situation, what I would question for myself and what I would like people to question is, am I making sacrifices and compromises out of fear of not being in a long distance, whether it comes to my work, whether it comes to
Mm,
certain things I want to pursue? I think that is the question. No one
very true.
actively no one actively goes to get a long distance.
God, yeah.
But if you are denying yourself things because
Mm,
of fear of a long distance, I think that's where we need to start the question from. And that's what
very,
I do for myself.
very, very nice answer. Very nice answer.
Thank
I
you
would
so much. Thank you, moderator.
imagine we two talk and only we listen to our podcast.
It's like that, those two memes. Just two girls saying exactly.
Exactly. No, I
Okay, now
I
your
truly
turn.
feel I truly feel that that's like the most perfect answer to give, because it is coming then from a place of you like giving a person an agency to define the requirement and what
Hmm.
is good for them, rather than judging and being like, "Ha, long distance to karna hi chahiye and nahi karna
Hmm.
chahiye," and all. I, on the other hand, was not. I just want to be honest and not copy your answer, but I came from that karna chahiye type of a thinking, because I genuinely feel that everyone should be. I am that kind of a person where I have practiced it, and which is I am preaching it, where I have by voluntary or not involuntary, whatever our circumstances are, I have gotten my relationship to test very harsh circumstances, like a lot of challenges. And I feel that if you are ultimately getting into marriage, you should be able to exercise your relationship, exercise all the muscles to feel ki, "Acha, theek hai, everything is working. Where is it hurting? Where can I fix?" And I feel long distance gives you that, like I'm calling it like a boot camp, to like literally you do it for some time, you see how your relationship is doing, so that it like sort of gives you an idea of where you need to work and where you don't need to work. And then that's how, like,
And my answer, I think,
yeah,
complements
that's how people say that you should always be able to, like,
like
you
the
should always
trip to
travel
the fair.
before you get, like, married. It's like,
I look, I agree with what you're saying 100%. And I think my answer is not contradicting yours. In fact, I think it is complementing it. And what I think is, especially when it comes to marriage, I have seen friends that the age, like you said, when you marry, for both men and women, or like, even in homosexual relationships, for people, when you marry, your decisions become very collective after marriage. The
yes,
agency you have to make more independent decisions are before marriage. So why not take that leeway and
100%.
and take that advantage of that leeway, right? No one is going to say anything. You can be like, I do, because people who have, let's say even you, okay, you wanted to pursue master's degree, how we started the conversation with, you wanted to pursue a master's degree, you wanted to make sure your choices were aligned with Sahil's choices,
Yeah.
versus me, I didn't get into a relationship in Nepal because I was like, this is going to limit my choice of school,
Yeah.
this is going to limit how I, whether how I want to look at my career and all of that, right? So these are active choices. I am just of the view that I know those compromises are going to happen after marriage. Why not take the advantage you have right now? But of course, it comes with a lot of challenges also.
And another point that I wanted to bring, actually, and then we can wrap this up, that what you said, the first, your answer first, was that you need to like move, like you need to take a step back and see that, are you like, letting go of certain opportunities to not make this a long distance, and then see,
Mhm.
like, And I feel that in your 20s, like let's say starting from 17 to 20 to 30, 32 also, I'm just giving like a broad age range. I just feel it is impossible that life will not give you
Give you, yeah.
give
Yeah.
you give you opportunities or reasons to
Especially in today's generation.
move out and like do something. It could be anything. It could be a course, it could be a 1 year masters, it could be a job, it could be anything that that life can take you to a different place from where you're existing,
Yeah.
right? And I feel that you should be able to have the courage to take it up without
Like,
fearing long distance.
I'll tell you, I know people, women who here in New York, people are doing long distance marriage. When I tell people that, bro, people in New York are doing long distance marriage without batting an eye. They're just like, this is what I want to pursue right now. We will see where it goes. We both need to understand. People have visa issues. People have so many things.
Mm.
And if it means giving up your entire self, I know a friend who's doing long distance marriage, New York and Nepal. And suddenly she's been wanting to move into another sector, and she's been telling me for a while and all, but that sector isn't as evolved in Nepal. She does see herself elsewhere. So suddenly I found out she has left her job, and I was like, oh wait, has she moved back to Nepal? Like, you would think that if a person from New York is leaving and their husband is in Nepal, that they would move back to Nepal. No, she's taken up a position somewhere in Southeast Asia for a organization that has offered her a great package and a great job of exactly what she wanted to do. And this, she's like, this is the career trajectory I looked at myself. If I don't take this right now, I need to take this. And she made that, move. And people think the only move you can make, even in long distance relationship, is only to move back to the person.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't happen like that, yeah.
Mm. Yeah. And I don't think we need to come across as someone who's glorifying long distance relationship. It,
No,
like you said,
absolutely not.
yeah, it is a challenge. It is something that is not ideal, but if you feel that, it is basically a delicate balance of of knowing when to give your life more important, like your individual goals more important, versus when your relationship needs more important. This similarly how you should never, like, compromise on the quality of your relationship. The same way you should not compromise on the quality of your own individual
Yeah.
goals. So it's honestly about being honest with yourself, and yeah, and not fearing something, because if it has to break long distance or together, it will break.
Yeah, it
Don't
will break.
fear it. Yeah.
I think that's something that, that's something that I'm also constantly learning and relearning. I think when something has to break, it can break. And you should not constantly work from this position of, oh, it's going to break and I should react in certain ways. And that's something that I am constantly learning and relearning as well. So just want to give that reassurance to our viewers. But no, I love this episode. We are thinking of doing something else, but I'm glad we did this today.